for joining us. Bill is off tonight. Investigators say the 65-year-old Green Bay man known as Uncle Fester, taken into custody on Friday, had an alleged meth lab in the basement of his home. We were first to show you the law enforcement response on Friday to Stephen Priestler's home on South Baird Street. It was the target of a day-long drug investigation. The home is now condemned with a warning on the side warning people about dangerous chemicals. Brittany Schmidt was in court for Priestler's first court appearance today. She joins us live in the studio to tell us exactly what happened. Brittany.
Cami, Priestler appeared via video, but he immediately told the court he's stunned by the complaint and calls the charges bogus. Priestler is facing multiple felony drug charges, including maintaining a drug trafficking home and manufacturing illegal drugs. According to a criminal complaint, authorities orchestrated two separate controlled buys at Priestler's house in June. Both substances bought tested positive for meth. On Friday, during a search warrant of Priestler's home, officials say they found enough meth in the house to provide the average user enough of the drug to last them up to 9 years. Investigators say Priestler had up to $65,000 worth of meth for sale. In the basement, officials say they found multiple open containers of chemicals and equipment consistent with an illicit drug lab. Priestler denied those accusations this afternoon.
These charges are mistaken. I think misidentified materials. I had to have. The only chemistry I had running in my basement was an amino acid derived experiment checking on the validity of a scientific paper published in 2007 stating that one could get the monomethyl derivative of alanine and a series of other amino acids by using formaldehyde and zinc dust. I ran that experiment myself several times, which they might have mistaken for something else.
Priestler is being held on a $100,000 cash bond and will be back in court in August. Meanwhile, all of the chemicals and illicit drugs officials say they found inside his home have been destroyed by a DCI clear team, while samples were sent off to a state lab for testing. Cami.